Welcome to Simplified UPSC by PPP, where we listen, learn, and grow together. Detailed lecture notes in English and Hindi, plus practice questions for prelims and mains, only on our Telegram channel. Link in description. Like and subscribe for more.
Before we jump right in, I just want to start with a really sincere thank you. A huge shout out to all of our existing members.
Absolutely. Your support is honestly what makes all of this possible.
It really is.
Yeah.
It allows us to build these deep dives. So if you're out there preparing for your exams and you find this useful, we just humbly ask you to subscribe, maybe like this deep dive, and share your thoughts in the comments.
And if you're able, consider joining the paid membership on the YouTube channel. It's Simplified UPSC by PPP.
It just ensures we can keep delivering this kind of really targeted content designed for your success.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Let's do it. Today, we're unpacking a really foundational piece of biology. NCERT Class 11, Chapter 21, on neural control and coordination.
And our mission here isn't just to, list facts. We want to deliver the core concepts, the high-yield insights that you need under exam pressure.
Right. We're mapping the entire path, from a single nerve impulse all the way up to how you process complex sounds.
And this whole topic, it really represents a huge shift in understanding life itself. The entire system is built on these specialized cells called neurons.
They're designed for one thing, really: rapid communication.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is the evolutionary path. How we went from very simple nerve nets to these centralized command centers.
That evolutionary story is so telling. You see the immediate need for centralization. You go from, say, a hydra with its really diffuse nerve net.
Barely an organization at all.
Right. And then you jump to something like an insect, which already has a coordinating brain and regional ganglia. It's an instant move toward efficiency.
And that efficiency, well, it culminates in the human system, which is structured into these very distinct kind of nested divisions.
And for anyone preparing for an exam, getting these divisions straight is non-negotiable.
You have to know them.
Okay, so let's nail those distinctions down. At the very core, you've got the central neural system, the CNS.
The brain and the spinal cord, that's your command and control.
And then everything else, all the wiring that extends out, is the peripheral neural system, or PNS.
Right, and the PNS is basically all the nerves connecting the CNS to the rest of the body. We can categorize its fibers by the direction they send signals.
So you have the afferent fibers. They're sensory. They carry impulses to the CNS.
I always think A for arriving. It helps. And conversely, you have the efferent fibers, which are motor. They carry impulses from the CNS. So E for exiting.
That's a great mnemonic. And then that efferent system, it splits again.
Yeah.
Based on what we control.
It does. You have the somatic neural system, which handles all the voluntary stuff, signals going to your skeletal muscles when you decide to move.
And then the huge automatic system for everything we don't consciously control.
The autonomic neural system, or ANS. It targets all your involuntary organs.
Which itself is split into that classic push-pull dynamic, the sympathetic system.
Your fight or flight response.
And the parasympathetic system.
Rest and digest. But there's another component here we need to touch on, one that's often misunderstood: the visceral nervous system, or VNS.
I think the VNS definitely gets glossed over. The textbook calls it the link between the CNS and the viscera. Can we make that a bit clearer? I mean, how is it functionally different from the autonomic system?
That's a really important question. The VNS is, well, technically it's a part of the PNS. It's all the nerves and ganglia that link the CNS to your internal organs and back.
Okay.
But think of it conceptually as the local network, the on-site communication, especially in the gut. While the ANS dictates big picture things like speeding up or slowing down digestion, the VNS provides the fine-tuned local control and that crucial feedback loop from the organ wall right back to the CNS.
So the ANS is the central command, and the VNS is like the on-site supervisor reporting back.
That's a perfect analogy. It helps a lot.
Okay, that clarifies it. Now let's zoom in, go microscopic. All these systems are built on one unit, the neuron.
The structural and functional unit. You've got three main parts: the cell body, or soma, which has the cytoplasm and nucleus, then the signal receiving branches, the dendrites,
And the single long fiber that transmits the signal away the axon.
and we have to mention the difference between axons that are sheathed in a fatty covering myelinated, which massively speed up transmission.
And the unmyelinated ones, which are slower. That difference basically dictates how fast certain signals need to travel.
Exactly.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. How does this biological wire actually hold and then fire an electrical charge? We have to get into the mechanics of the nerve impulse.
It all starts at rest, the resting potential. The This is the neuron's default state, all charged up and polarized. The key is a very unequal distribution of ions across the axon's membrane.
So inside the axon, you have a lot of potassium, K plus A, but not much sodium, no plus A.
Correct. And on the outside, in the fluid surrounding it, it's the exact opposite. Tons of sodium, very little potassium.
And this imbalance, this gradient, it's maintained by something absolutely critical to life, the sodium-potassium pump.
And it is a pump. This is active transport. It burns a huge amount of energy.
Right. And this is a high-yield fact for any exam.
Definitely. The pump actively moves 3 sodium ions out of the cell for every 2 potassium ions it pumps in.
The 3-for-2 trade.
That differential movement of positive ions creates an electrical potential. The outside surface of the membrane ends up positive, and the inside surface becomes negative. That difference is the resting potential.
The 3-to-2 ratio is so specific. I mean, if the pump is always working, always burning energy, what's the real functional significance of that massive energy demand?
That's a fantastic functional question. The energy cost it's huge. Some estimates say it's 20, maybe even 40% of the brain's entire energy budget.
Wow.
And the significance is simple. Without that constant energy-hungry work, you can't maintain the resting state. You can't keep the battery charged. It's the cost of being perpetually ready to fire at a moment's notice.
So that's the readiness cost. And when a stimulus comes along, it triggers the action potential. How does that carefully maintained 3-to-2 balance get, thrown into chaos?
The stimulus causes special voltage-gated channels to fly open, specifically sodium channels. The membrane suddenly becomes incredibly permeable to Na plus WAS.
So sodium just floods
A
on.
massive, rapid influx of sodium ions. And because all that positive charge is rushing in, the polarity at that spot on the membrane reverses. The inside becomes positive, the outside becomes negative.
And that reversal is the action potential, the nerve impulse itself.
That's it. And it travels down the axon like a wave. But neurons have to reset almost instantly.
Right, they can't stay depolarized. So how is that resting state restored so fast?
Well, the sodium channels snap shut almost as quickly as they opened, and that's followed immediately by a sharp increase in permeability to potassium, K plus O.
So now potassium's turn.
Right. Now potassium ions rush out of the cell, carrying their positive charge with them. This efflux of K plus is what we call repolarization. It rapidly makes the inside of the cell negative again, preparing it for the next signal.
And then the sodium-potassium pump just cleans up the mess over time, getting the ion concentrations exactly right again.
Precisely.
So once that signal gets to the very end of the axon, it usually hits a gap, a synapse. And in most cases, we're talking about a chemical synapse.
Right, which means there's a tiny physical gap, the synaptic cleft. The signal can't just jump across electrically.
So it has to switch from electrical to chemical.
It does. The arrival of the action potential triggers the release of chemicals, neurotransmitters from the presynaptic side into that cleft.
And those chemicals drift across.
They diffuse very quickly and bind to specific receptors on the postsynaptic neuron, the next one in line.
And what happens when they bind determines everything. If it makes the next neuron more likely to fire, it's
Accessory.
and if it makes it less likely to fire.
It's inhibitory, and this constant balancing act, this interplay of excitatory and inhibitory signals, is basically the foundation of all computation in the brain.
Okay, let's follow these impulses to their destination. The brain. So what does this all mean for controlling our bodies?
The brain is the ultimate information processor. It controls everything from voluntary movements to body temperature to, processing sensory information.
Structurally, we divide it into the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain.
Exactly, each with very specialized jobs. Let's break down the functions that are most frequently tested.
Good idea.
The forebrain is the largest part. It includes the cerebrum, which is responsible for all the higher functions, memory, problem-solving, voluntary actions.
But the forebrain also has other key structures.
Critically, yes. It has the thalamus, which is like a major relay station for sensory and motor signals, and hypothalamus.
The master regulator of homeostasis.
The master regulator. It controls body temperature, thermoregulation, hunger, thirst, and it's the crucial link between the nervous system and the endocrine or hormone system.
What about the parts we don't consciously control as much?
That brings us to the midbrain and hindbrain. The midbrain is a key relay for certain sensory info, and it controls some visual and auditory reflexes.
And the hindbrain.
The hindbrain has the pons, the cerebellum, and the medulla. The medulla is absolutely vital. It controls respiration, heart rate, gastric secretions, things you can't live without.
And the cerebellum.
The cerebellum is all about motor coordination and, crucially, body balance. If you can walk in a straight line without falling over, you can thank your cerebellum.
That centralization is powerful, but sometimes you just need pure speed, no time for processing. And that's where the reflex arc comes in.
The emergency bypass. A reflex action is that totally involuntary, super fast response to a stimulus, like pulling your hand from a hot stove.
And its speed comes from using the simplest possible neural pathway, the reflex arc.
Exactly.
So what are the absolute essential components of that arc?
You need a receptor, which gets stimulated. That activates an afferent neuron, the sensory one, to send the signal into the CNS, usually just the spinal cord.
So it doesn't even have to go all the way to the brain.
For the simplest reflexes, no. In the spinal cord, that afferent neuron talks directly to an efferent neuron, the motor one, which sends an instruction straight back out to an effector, like a muscle.
And the muscle contracts. Instant reaction.
Instant reaction. It's built for survival.
Okay, let's shift from the brain's internal work to how it decodes the outside world, starting with our chemical sense, smell, the olfactory system.
That's right. The olfactory receptors are in your nose, embedded in the olfactory epithelium. These are specialized cells coated in mucus, designed to bind with airborne chemicals.
And the signal from there.
The signal travels to the limbic system in the brain, which is why smell is so powerfully linked to emotion and memory.
And finally, let's tackle the absolute engineering marvel that is the ear. It handles two totally different jobs, hearing and balance. The complexity here is definitely high yield.
Let's start from the outside in. Sound waves are collected by the pinna, the external part of your ear,
And funneled down the canal.
down the external auditory meatus until they hit the tympanic membrane, the eardrum. It vibrates, and that mechanical energy gets passed to the middle ear.
And the middle ear has those three famous little bones, the ossicles, the malleus, incus, and stapes. Now, why are they so essential? Why not just have the eardrum vibrate the inner ear directly?
That's all about amplification. You're going from sound moving through air in the middle ear to moving through fluid in the inner ear. There's a huge impedance mismatch.
Meaning most of the energy would just bounce off the fluid.
It would be reflected right back. The ossicles act as a lever system. They mechanically amplify the vibration, maybe 15 to 20 times, giving the signal enough force to effectively move the fluid in the inner ear.
That's a brilliant piece of engineering. So that amplified signal now hits the fluid-filled inner ear, the labyrinth. And the coiled part for hearing is the cochlea.
Inside the cochlea is a fluid called endolymph, and this is where the magic happens. The actual conversion from mechanical vibration to an electrical nerve signal occurs in the organ of Corti.
Okay, where is that?
It rests on the basilar membrane and is covered by the tectorial membrane. The sensory receptors are tiny hair cells sandwiched between them. When the basilar membrane vibrates, the hair cells get bent against the tectorial membrane, and that generates the neural signal.
Incredible. And the inner ear's other job is balance, right? The vestibular apparatus.
Our internal gyroscope, located right above the cochlea, it has the otolith system, which contains the macula.
The sensory part that detects linear movement.
Right, like accelerating in a car. And then it has the three semicircular canals.
And their geometry is everything, isn't it?
It is. They are arranged in three different planes, all at right angles to each other.
So they cover all three dimensions of movement.
Exactly. Pitch, roll, and yaw. Any rotational movement of your head causes the fluid in at least one of those canals to move, which tells your brain exactly how you're oriented in space. It allows for those instant adjustments to keep your balance.
Wow. Okay, so we've charted the entire neural map. We've gone from the hierarchy of the nervous system to that energy-hungry 3-to-2 sodium-potassium pump, all the way to the inner workings of the ear.
For your preparation, the things to really focus on are those structural relationships, the components of the reflex arc, the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic, and that precise arrangement in the cochlear organ of Corti on the basilar membrane under the tectorial membrane.
And understanding why the 3-to-2 pump needs so much energy really helps you remember how it works.
It absolutely does.
We've seen how this system uses both electrical speed and chemical precision. It's a masterclass in dual control. So as you continue your studies, consider this provocative thought.
We talked about that antagonistic relationship, the sympathetic system as the accelerator and the parasympathetic as the brake.
Exactly. So given that complexity, what unique evolutionary pressure might have led to keeping two separate opposing systems instead of just evolving a single unified system that could just dial its activity up or down on one continuum.
A great question to think about.
And thank you, again, to all of our members for their incredible support. It truly makes deep dives like this possible. If you found this useful, please show your support. Like the video, share your thoughts on that question in the comments.
And subscribe.
And if you're in a position to do so, please consider joining our paid membership on YouTube Simplified UPSC by PPP so we can keep delivering this content for you.
We look forward to seeing your insights.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Telegram and Instagram. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.